What problem does NotebookLM solve for teachers? How can language students benefit from using it?
We're discussing this today on the latest episode of DIESOL Podcast. Hello, welcome to the DIESOL Podcast, where we focus on developing innovation in English as a second or other language. We're on video too. Sorry, I'm getting used to this double format thing. I'm Brent Warner, professor of ESL at Irvine Valley College, and I'm here with the famous Miss Ixchell. The famous Miss Ixchell. Everybody knows you.
Please don't.
That's what you said. You said your students came up and said
Ixchell,
you're famous, right?
Famous.
Congratulations. All right. So today, how are you doing? Everything okay?
Pretty good.
Yeah,
downs? Pretty smooth start to the new year. Solid. Good. Busy good. Now. Everything's in full swing, I think.
Good.
Yours?
All good. So I accidentally downloaded the new iOS operating system, iOS 26.
No.
Oh my God, it is. Ixchell,
You're loving it?
So bad. It is so bad. Sorry, I know we're gonna have some people on there going, I don't know what to change it, but like it is real bad.
All the Android fans are like rejoicing right now.
I will say this is literally the first time I've been using Mac for over 30 years and iPhones since however long they've been out, but this is the first time I'm seriously thinking about getting rid of iPhone and going to a different system because it is
Apple. You hear that?
Bad.
Don't you ever round the corners again for transparency.
It's that glass, that liquid glass thing. It's just like, it does. Anyways. All right. We got to get to the topic. We're not talking about Apple today. We're talking about Google. So, NotebookLM. So, Ixchell, we've talked about this a bit in the past, right? We've mentioned it here and there. What is NotebookLM?
Well, it's been around since 2023, which I actually didn't know because it became public June of 2025. And I know you probably knew more about it at the time. I don't often use the Google ecosystem these days. So there was a lot of buzz around it. But if you have not played with NotebookLM, how is it really different than your average AI tool? Because it is an AI-driven tool. And you've got your typical AI tools like ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot, Claude, and all the other ones. And those will search everything. Everything. It means you might get sources that are not trusted, and you will absolutely have an overload of information because you have to fine tune and tweak your prompts, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And NotebookLM is different because you can upload your own sources, basically anything that you can put in the drive, or you can add links, you can add videos, slide decks, transcripts, PDFs, documents. And so what that does then is it creates a lockdown learning ecosystem without all the other junk that you have to sift through. So it's only going to search that which you upload. And that means you can use your own trusted and vetted sources, which means it saves you some time. and well, it saves you time in many ways. But essentially, that's what NotebookLM is.
Yeah. And so the layout of it, so it's kind of worth explaining a little bit so that people kind of understand, because it does feel a little bit different than, your ChatGPTs or whatever else it is. And so the layout is in these 3 columns. On the left-hand side, you can go and add any of the sources that you want it to pull from. So you can go add PDFs, you can add, slide decks, you can go add videos, YouTube videos, of course, because it's Google, but anything else too. So it's kind of got that layout for go and show what sources exactly you want it to pull from on the left-hand side. And then in the middle is your big chat box, which is kind of the traditional, AI chatbot type of thing. And so you can have your conversations in your chat with that. And then the thing that people really like or are really interested in exploring is the what they call the studio on the right hand side, and so that's got all these. The language they use for this is just so awful, Ishal. I'm gonna say like it's like why is it's a studio,
You're
but like it's
grumpy
making.
lately.
I know, I'm in a bad mood, right? So,
But no,
but
you're
like
right. A
but
studio,
they call it a studio, and then
but can it
all of
be
the
like a
things that are
toolbox?
inside of there are called artifacts, right? And so it's like I don't understand what that
They're
language
trying to be
comes.
like Chat GPT. Well,
Is that
other
I don't even.
other AIs call it artifacts. I think Claude AI or another one calls it
Yeah, yeah.
artifact,
So
or
it's like
I can't
so
remember,
it's
but
like
it's like
it would be better just to call it a tools or
toolbox.
something toolbox and tools or something like that. Yeah. Anyway, so regardless, so that's got a bunch of things, and we're going to talk about several of those because I think everybody can kind of understand the chatbot. But the studio and those tools, which are called artifacts, are kind of the interesting things that a lot of people are excited about or wanting to test. So you and I,
Right.
Shell, we built one before this episode, based on a few resources, just publicly available stuff. That this example happens to be about shopping in a in a grocery store. So several resources about that. But that's how you and I kind of built this, just to play with it and see, hey, what's going on, what's happening today in the end of January 26.
Yeah.
So
And the way that I understand, oh, sorry, Brent, but the way
yeah, go
that I
ahead.
understand NotebookLM for people who haven't used it is it's like a digital notebook where you have your notes and you can interact with the notes and then build things out so that you can, again, interact. We'll talk about the features, but everything is laid out in one place.
That's right.
It's not a website. It's almost like you can be talking to it and it's going to be responding as you're building things out within this notebook. So
Mm-hmm.
let's go on to the features you're going to mention.
Yeah. So there's a lot of features inside of here, and the first one, the big one, I think this is the most interesting one, is the audio overview. So basically, what it does is it makes these little podcasts. I think we mentioned this in the past too, but it makes these podcasts, and it's got a male voice and a female voice, and they're kind of going back and forth. They sound very natural. They sound like they're kind of they enjoy each other's company, all those kinds of things. But basically, it will make a podcast covering the content of what you're asking to talk about. And then the really cool feature inside of there is that you can interrupt the podcast, you can ask it questions, and then they will start responding to you. So it's almost like it's a call-in show, and you're like, hey, hold on a second, I want to talk about this a little bit, right? And so you can actually, based on the content that's inside of the sources, it will give you conversations back and forth, and you can say, hey, wait, talk more about this, or I don't understand the concept you're talking about, or whatever else it is. And so that is a super cool feature.
Yeah, that's the feature that got the most buzz when it first went public. It was a
Mm-hmm.
podcast feature.
Yeah. Yeah, the podcast itself first was good, and then when they added in that speak back and forth, I actually
Yeah, the
didn't hear as many
interactive.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't hear as many people talk about that part, and I'm like, wait a second, that's way more valuable than just just the podcast. But regardless, still pretty useful. So I thought we kind of talk a little bit about maybe how teachers might use that, and then maybe how students might use it. So for me, I've played
Yeah.
with this a
So
few
build a
times.
podcast and so what, right?
Yeah,
Click the
right. So
button and so what?
yeah, so I thought I've done this a couple of times, which is uploading some research. So you and I, like on the show, we try and get like real research on information. So I've uploaded some research into it, and then just on my drive, like my commute down to work, then I'll listen to that overview. And they're not super long; they usually make them like 6 to 10 minutes or
Six
something like
minutes.
that.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think you can adjust the length.
Okay. Yeah.
The last
There.
time you could adjust the length.
Yeah, there are options to say, like, do you want it to do
Mm-hmm.
a deep dive? It's actually pretty cool. So many of these artifacts, they have a edit button or a pencil button, and then you can kind of choose how you want to customize it. So how do you want long, short? Do you want it to do a deep dive? Do you want it to do brief? It has the option to critique, it has the option to debate, right? And so there's lots of different ways you could listen to the conversation, and so what appeals to you might be a good choice. But I think for teachers to be able to hear less of the hardcore academic, just kind of dry way that some of these papers are put forward, and more of like a, hey, this is actually useful. It's like hearing, a good presenter talking about it, or in more practical daily terms. So I think that's really useful.
I am going to say, Brent, that I noticed the voices tend to have, they're a very podcasty sound tone,
Yeah.
or and sometimes the female voice has a vocal fry. I don't know if you noticed that. She has a
Yeah,
vocal fry.
I tried to get my vocal fry on. It's not coming out right now. I'm a little congested, but yeah, yeah. So it does have a little bit of that going on.
But
And
that's like
so another,
what people
yeah,
sound like.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. It is pretty good. So for our students, here's the trick with a lot of this. None of this is built for language learners, right? And so the pacing, the vocabulary choices, all of these things might be a little too high. And you can go in again with that edit button and say, like, you can actually ask it to say, like, hey, try to simplify the language. I always use, when I'm using these bots, I use the Cepher scales. So I'm saying, use Cepher A1, try your best to adjust to that. It does, some of these works a little better than others. And so it kind of depends, right? So again, as a teacher, sure, no problem. I understand all this stuff. But for my students, I kind of want to make sure and double check when I create anything if I'm going to share it out with them. But
Right.
we also have some maybe. So you mentioned that too. What do you think about for students using this?
I think so far when I've shown students, and they're my teachers in training, they're
Mm-hmm.
amazed by it, and they tend to just use it for listening practice. I don't know that they're using anything else, but they're using more of the academic English. Um, right now, I think it's just novel to them.
Mm-hmm.
They may not quite be as creative with it. So I don't know. But again, all of these tools are still, again, kind of young tools, I
Mm-hmm.
guess. So they're just going to get better over time.
Yeah, and I think right now it's still one of those things where it's like we're not really grasping what this can do for us at a lot of levels,
Other
and
than
so
create,
yeah.
once we
So
feed it all of our information, next year we'll know what it can do.
I know, right? So here we go. Okay, so that's one of the tools, that audio overview. I think it's a big one. We won't spend as much time talking about all of them,
Mm,
but we do want to
that's the
kind of
biggest
cover what's
buzz.
going on. Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
So there's a few others that I noticed are new since the last time I played with NotebookLM, and one of those is the video overview, which is pretty cool because
Mm-hmm.
again, you can create a video based on the sources that you fed to it.
Mm-hmm.
It will create, I don't know, I think it created you and I went in there and you created a 6-minute video, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was pretty cool. It took the important points of information about shopping at the grocery store, and it, pulled out a couple of idioms from there. But the issue we had was that it wasn't editable, and the
Mm-hmm.
layout was beautiful. Layout was beautiful. You don't need to be a designer anymore because AI did it pretty well. But it wasn't editable, and I think that that would be an issue because some of the language was not um, appropriate for, I don't know, an A1 or depending on what your level of students are. And I thought maybe there was a little bit too much text overload in some of them.
Mm-hmm.
Better than humans, actually. Better than humans. I've seen some humans that try to kill you with bullet points, but this was
Yeah.
pretty good. But it was just not editable.
Yeah, that's the big problem. So you can download it as an MP4. You could put it into your LMS. Like it's all that's cool, but it's like you get what you get, and so it's kind of like you don't have a choice. So it's like, all right, well, what if I don't like it, or what if I want to make a change? And we've seen this before with AI images, right? Where it's like, oh, I
Hmm.
just wish that one little part changed, and now
Yeah.
they have it where you can kind of highlight it and ask for that, but it doesn't always look
Yeah.
great, and it's going to be that same problem. So what I'm really looking forward to is the day when these things are downloadable as multi-track downloads, and then you could
You
upload
can
it
edit the
into, and
items.
edit each item individually, right?
I
That
guess
will be there someday.
you could, if you're having, I don't know, this is just me thinking out loud. You could have a student, if they're looking for structure, you could see what structure it lays out the information in the slides, because the
Mm-hmm.
slide deck was not overly lengthy. Um, and you could then take ideas from there. I don't know if that would save time, but for some students, working backwards might work. And then they might decide, to actually build their deck somewhere else.
Yeah, well, so with the videos, you can't really mess with the slide decks, right? Like you can't do
Oh, sorry.
anything,
We're talking
right?
about the
So
video. Yeah.
yeah, so
Sorry. I
sorry,
jumped into slide deck.
yeah, they get overlapped with each other because
Yeah.
basically the video is kind of a slideshow with a voice going
With
over the
like
top of it,
voiceover.
right? It's
Hmm.
not like people moving around or there's no motion graphics or anything like that. It's pretty straightforward. But anyways, kind of worth looking at. And again, broad overview. It is an overview. It's not going into depth. It's not going to go into the focus areas you want to go to as a teacher. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Like you're going to be rolling the dice on that. So all right. uh Quickly, Shell, I don't think we have a lot to talk about with
Uh,
these 2 points here, but the mind map is one option, which I kind of
hmm.
thought, like, okay, there are some places, like, I don't use a ton of mind mapping stuff in my classes, a little bit here and there, or I think there's some interesting ideas with it. So, like, theoretically, if you're talking about a grammar point, like, you could break down the grammar. If you were doing a linguistics class, you could probably do a mind map to do like like a actual language tree and build out, like, what's the subject, what's the verb, maybe, right? That might come out. But again, I don't know that I have a ton of uses. It's just like, but if you're out there and you've got the creative ideas, share them with it. Share them with us because we'd
Yeah.
love
If
to
you're
kind of
using
think more
it, yeah,
about it.
we haven't played with all of them yet.
And then there's also reports in there. Again, it can make a report on kind of compiling your multiple sources inside
Wait
of
a minute.
there.
I've used the report option.
Okay, what'd you do?
I had been recently reading a lot of research on trauma in the adult ESL classroom, and I'd already read the articles, and I had about 11 of them, some of them quite lengthy, and I popped them in there and I asked for a report, and it actually did a really good job of compiling the information that I had already started compiling,
Oh,
and it
good.
ended up being lengthy but useful because now I'm going through it and highlighting it and then going back to the source, like the actual source. So
Nice.
actually, that it's pretty good for research.
Great. Yeah, perfect. So again, more advanced, for teachers doing research on their work, wonderful. Beginning level students, maybe not so much, right?
Yeah. For
Okay, cool.
academic though, academic language, excellent.
Very nice.
Okay, so pretty soon in the spring, March 24th through 27th,
Mm-hmm.
TESOL 2026 is happening in Salt Lake City, Utah. And you know who
Woo.
will be there? Not me.
Not
But
you.
not
What
me.
the heck? What
I
the heck?
know. What the heck? What the hiccup? That's what my nephew says. But Brent will be there.
I will be there.
Brent will be
Yeah.
there.
I'm looking forward to it. I had a good
Mhm.
time last year. Of
That was
course,
awesome. Last year was awesome.
part of the reason I had a good time was because you were there, so maybe it's not going to be so good.
And also it
But
was in Long Beach.
yeah, it was close by. That was very
Mm-hmm.
nice.
That was
For
nice.
me anyways. But yeah, but Salt Lake City, I'm kind of looking forward to it, going out there, checking that out. I am going with some of my colleagues, so I will still have a fun time. And of course, any of you listening,
We need
I
to have
would
a
love
meetup.
to talk to you. I know,
You should have a
but I
meetup.
can't do a meetup without you though. Like,
No, you can't.
you can just grab me in the hallways and
Find
we'll have
him,
a
get
meetup.
some stickers, get some patches,
Yeah,
take a selfie,
you can invite me to the bar if you want, but
buy Brent a drink.
yeah, buy me a drink. Maybe I need to buy them a drink, right?
Forget
For
buy me a coffee, buy me a drink.
dealing with us, yeah.
Yeah.
But
So
anyways, yeah,
be there.
Teasel. Yeah, there's
Be
gonna be a
there
lot
or
of
be
good sessions there.
square.
Yeah, for sure. So cool. All right, so Shell, coming back to it, a couple other features inside of here. There are flashcards, so it can make you flashcards inside of there. Again, editable choices. So if you go into the flashcards feature, and then you're going and using that the pencil button to make an edit on it, you can actually see, like, hey, I want to make more cards or fewer. I want to make it easier or more difficult. But there is a thing inside of there that says what should the topic be, and so you
Mm-hmm.
can go by topic. But again, I did kind of successfully say, like, hey, change the level so that it's easy enough, like, not the difficulty of the questions but the difficulty of the language. And we played
Language.
with this in one or
Mm-hmm.
two places, and we're able to get some better responses, I think, than were available in the past. And so not perfect, but still, like, hey, I want to play with this a little bit and figure it out. So there are some choices there.
Again, I want to remind anybody who's out there thinking, well, how is this different than Quizlet? Remember, you are uploading your own sources. So
Mm-hmm.
it's your own material, and you're pulling out from material or from material that you've already been using. So it's not like you have to go type it into Quizlet or whatever other flashcard service is out there. Everything will be there. Plus, you can change the format of whatever it is with all those tools. So it's already in one place. It's a notebook.
Yeah. Can I also add something in here? I think we kind of skipped an important point. So you can actually share the whole notebook with your students,
Yes.
or you can share the individual activities like those flashcards or the quiz. So if you have already kind of, used it to build something, you're like, oh, this is really good. And you could just choose to share that one thing, which is really useful. Or you could say, hey, I want everybody to be looking with these same materials and playing around with their own things. And so the sharing option is a big deal. And I think we kind of skipped over it at the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was going to say that another thing that maybe it's very useful to know is that even though you may have loaded, let's say, 50 sources, right? You can ask it to only look at 3 or all 50.
Yeah.
So again, you can customize how much information you want it to search.
Yeah, there's a lot of
We
stuff
also
in there.
we also have the quiz function, and again, this one is customizable. You've got to use the little pencil icon to ask for it to simplify the language. It also does have a explanation icon, so if your student gets the question wrong, it'll guide them back to the resource where that information was. And we also noticed that it knew when a source had a video, so then it pulled from the transcript of the video, and it asked the student, from the video, why did this character have trouble, such and such, etc., etc. So now the student can go to the video, and of course you can customize it to only ask questions from a video.
Yeah. So I like
Pretty
that
cool.
they have a little hint button there at the bottom, and so really good for formative assessments. Just like, hey, just check for yourself, see what you're doing, see how well you got this, right? So I like that a lot. This is the recent big one, Ixchell, that's been all over LinkedIn, is the infographics. Have you seen some of those pop up online?
No, I have not.
Yeah, I know you're not as active on there, but like there was this wave of everybody just making infographics on something, right? Like
You
they
know
were
what?
uploading their course content, and like
I may
they were
have
uploading
seen
their
the.
syllabus, putting it, and then it was like made these really really cool infographics.
Did it
You
look
maybe
very
saw some.
AI-ish, or was it professional?
It looked more arty than like a traditional layout, right? So it was that AI art style that you kind of see, but you can still customize it a little bit. But again, infographics, to me, I love the idea of students building infographics because they're thinking through the content and figuring out what it does as they're doing the design. And so to me, like building a quick infographic is kind of beats the point in some ways, but like it can be useful just to show like some basic information and make it in a more visually appealing way. So there is an option for that as well.
Still like building my own.
Yeah, me too.
All right. And of course, I mentioned the slide deck earlier. It is another version of the video, except without the voiceover. But what we said was that it's not customizable, and
Well,
that's
this
maybe a drawback, right?
can I point out something that's real weird about this? Why isn't it just built in Google Slides, right? Like it makes a
Yeah, what the
PDF, and
heck?
it's like come on, you guys.
Google, you listening? Google,
Like,
you listening?
well, it's almost shocking. It's like, how could you possibly have missed that this should be built like right into Google Slides? Because then it would be fully editable, and you could mix around the little parts and change little bits, and that would be wonderful. And instead, it makes beautifully designed, but it makes a PDF that you cannot mess with at all, right? And so it's like, well, all right, like fine, and what the heck, right? Is kind of my thinking with it. So but it's cool, again, beautiful, like pretty, but again, it might not be the exact parts of the things that you wanted to talk about. And so then again, you have to kind of play that cat and mouse game, like that dance of like, am I going to get it to say what I want it to say?
Yeah. So slide deck.
Yeah, but it is cool, right? Like again, all of these are cool. A little creativity, possibilities, really interesting things, and real places to play with it, and for you as a teacher and for your students. But let's do just a couple takeaways, Ixchell. I'm going to start with some of mine. So number
Go for
one,
it.
I think it's useful, right? But like I said, I think one of the big problems is that not everything is customizable. I am very sure that's going to be in the future. Like it'll just be, oh yeah, obviously you can go and mess with this and change what's going on, what's creating. It's just not there yet. I would also warn my students that this is kind of, like if they're going to be playing with it, if I'm not putting the materials in there, even if I am putting the materials in there, it's still not fully guided. It's AI generated, right? And right at the
Right.
bottom of it, there's still that note that says NotebookLM can be inaccurate. Please double check its responses. Even as controlled of the content and information that we have, it still makes things like you put into our shared notebook, you said, hey, give me some idioms, and it just kept getting stuck on that deer in the headlights idiom.
Deer in the headlines. And then it added something like a dozen, which is not an idiom. It should have said
Yeah,
a baker's dozen,
baker's
perhaps.
dozen or something.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
it's
so it's like
still,
little funky, right? But it kept going back. It's like really wanted to push that deer in the headlights, idiom over and over again. It's like, all right, well, I would probably say that once, and like it's fun, but anyways,
and
so
also at the
uh,
grocery store.
yeah.
We're talking about
Yeah,
grocery
well,
store
again,
vocabulary,
yeah.
so
So the AI logic, it does clarify. It says you might be in the store and looking at so many choices and feel like a deer in the headlights. And I'm like, okay,
yeah.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
you would say
Uh-huh.
that, right? Kind of, but it's not really a shopping idiom.
Right.
Anyways, so I would share parts of this with students. I would probably go in and do sharing individual parts, like these tools or the artifacts that they call them, right? And say like, hey, here's something for you to work with. Here's something to play with. um of course I can't, my students are welcome to use anything that's available to them, but if I was using it proactively with my students, I might kind of focus in on the parts that I really think I like the control, like a little quality control for it. That would probably be my approach.
Yeah, and then my takeaways would be that I really, really, really like Notebook LM for exam prep where students have to review tons of information and
Mm-hmm.
retain their notes in one place. I actually
Mm-hmm.
think this would be excellent, especially for those students who have multiple modalities of how they review. I think it's just great to have it all in one place. I also think it's definitely more of a safe feeling because you know that it's only looking at sources you put in. And again, sources must be vetted if the students are building their own, as Brent said. But that said, you definitely, as a user, need to spend time exploring before deploying,
Mm.
because while this tool does save time, you still need to know the ins and outs, especially at the beginning, learning curves and
Yeah,
stuff.
spend a couple hours playing with
Hmm.
it before you just say, hey, I'm going to open it up in front of my class. But should always be the advice, I guess, right? Just, like,
Yeah, for anything. We've said
don't
this
just
from the
go blind.
beginning.
We always say that, right?
Poke the
But jump
buttons,
into it.
break everything.
Give yourself the time because it is fun, right? It's tons of fun. And you're like, and especially if you kind of choose something like, hey, I'm actually studying this thing separately for myself. I'm gonna test it out, play with it. I think there's a lot to see here. So yeah, give it a try.
All right, it is time for our fun finds. And
Yay!
this time I have a flower. So, Brent, have you ever
Ooh,
heard of the Kalina flower?
I have not heard of the
Okay,
Kalina
so
flower.
this Kalina flower, so the Kalina flower is this flower that looks like red berries. It almost looks to me like cranberries, but it
Hmm.
is a Ukrainian flower, and right now it's snowing in Ukraine, and so these red flowers against the snow look quite beautiful.
Hmm.
Scroll up. It's the
There we
first
go.
one,
That one.
and yeah, and it's just really really pretty. And it stands for the resiliency of Ukrainian people and a lot of other things. But I just thought it was really cool because the name Kalina sounds really cool. So
I would
Kalina
not
flowers. I
have
don't think I have
thought
them
that's
here.
a flower if I looked at it, but we'll
I
have a link
know.
to it, a picture
It
in the show
is.
notes.
Yeah.
Cool.
What do you have?
Very, very nice. I have dun 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 dun.
Oh
I
no. Oh
have
no.
a Raspberry Pi.
Pie.
Um,
Dessert?
the no the little computer. So I got this Raspberry Pi. Everybody was doing Raspberry Pi stuff about 10 years ago,
10
I
years
think.
ago. That's what I
Is like
wanted. I wanted a Raspberry Pi.
that was like popular, but I didn't really get it. I got it for, I mean, I did, but actually I'm interested in this tool that you can install on it called Home Assistant. So basically it automates all of your home stuff. You might have this set up with Alexa or, Apple
HomePod.
HomePod or whatever else it is, like some of the automation stuff. But basically, this is a computer that does it separately and does not send all of your information and everything you're saying to Jeff Bezos, which is kind of nice, right?
As you're saying this, Alexa just reminded me to go to bed. Really.
You know that Jeff Bezos actually just sits at a computer and he speaks everything and it just goes through Alexa's voice. It's pretty amazing. Anyway, so if you're not aware, Alexa, for example, last year basically said, no, your information, whatever you're saying in your house is not private. It's going straight up to the cloud. All these kinds of things. And so I'm like, I want to get away from these corporations kind of controlling and having all this data on me. And so there's a big kind of open source community on this thing called Home Assistant. Very basic and forgettable name, but anyways, you can install it on a Raspberry Pi, have it all run out of your house, and so I am interested in that. And then there's also another feature in there, which is you can turn on an ad blocker, which means that like anything that goes through your streaming services, if you have commercials coming up on your, Peacock or your Hulu or whatever, that will just block those commercials out. I haven't tried it yet, so it's all got to get installed and things, but it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, we're gonna have to follow up on that.
Yeah, for sure.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. For the show notes and other episodes, check out diesel.org/132. You can find us now on YouTube. Follow us, like us. We do respond. We actually respond a lot more on there. And thank you to everybody who sat through the last episode and listened to the tip on potatoes.
Yes.
We're on most socials at DieselPod.
You can find me on some of the socials at Brent G. Warner.
And you can find me at ixy_pixie. That's IXY_PIXY_.
Double underscore.
Two
underscore at the
guys.
end,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much. It's been a good time to learn a bunch of new things. And so get out there, check it all out. And Ixchell, we'll see you next time.
February?
Yeah, we'll see you in February. All right. Bye.